Some of you can probably hear us already, but I'm going to wait just like 15 more seconds to kind of let things load up, let other people join in. So sit here and look at my face while we're waiting just a couple seconds. All right, that's about how long it takes for me to count to 20. So yeah, hello and welcome to our webinar. Really happy to have everybody here today. The webinar, Why You Should Give a Damn About Regression Testing in Microsoft Dynamics 365. Um, my name is Jacob Davis. I'm Customer Success Manager here at X Plus SA. We're a Microsoft Dynamics implementation partner, also an Inner Circle member. So this company's had a huge and extensive background in implementations with MS Dynamics and now, of course, Dynamics 365. I'm joined today by my friend and colleague Marek Domagawa. I'm really happy to have him here today. He's the lead test engineer, one of our lead test engineers here at X Plus, and we've worked on several projects together, like performance testing projects, regression testing projects, and such. And so I thought it would be a good idea to have him join us and kind of share some of his experience working with customers who are using Dynamics and going through Microsoft One version updates, and I'm really happy to have him here and share his experience with us. So it'll be kind of a dual situation here. I'll talk about the customer's point of view, kind of introduced one version and regression testing, and then chat with Marek a little bit and make sure that we're conveying some experience that we've had specifically with our customers. So happy to have everybody here with us. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. The webinar, it is being recorded, so we'll send out this recording to everybody. Do make sure, though, some people have registered with like a Gmail account or something like that, so check those accounts. Whatever you registered with, we'll send the email there that'll have the recording in it. And also at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. We're hoping to save, 10, 15 minutes where we can just answer some of your questions. So during the webinar, go ahead and in the comments section, probably you can see it's available to you there. Go ahead and put your questions in there and we'll bring some of them up as we go through the Q&A. And whatever we don't get to, of course, we'll follow up with you directly at whatever email address you registered with. We have some questions that we commonly hear and just kind of sharing our experience. And so we'll start the Q&A and talk a little bit about questions that we've heard from customers specifically. And so we'll kind of prompt it with that as well. With that said, we'll go ahead and move on to the agenda. And what we've got today is first, we're going to talk about regression in general. And what is it? What's it needed for? Why are we using it? Regression testing. With Microsoft One version updates, it's a topic. And so I want to kind of clarify what it is. Regression tests in MS D365, especially with the finance and supply chain management area. We'll talk about that a little bit in detail, and that'll kind of lead into Marek bringing in some experiences we've actually had with customers. The next thing then is what about automation? And I think that's a topic that we really need to talk about because previously with other ERP versions of things before things moved into the cloud. It was kind of a massive upgrade every once in a while, and you could often handle the testing manually. But with the frequent updates of one version, which I'm sure you're all familiar with and we'll talk about, it's probably, I can't imagine anybody's not recommending automation at this point. And that's something we have expertise in. And so Marek will also share some information about that as well. Next, the topic of regression test suite and the process of it. This, I think, yeah, I can't wait to hear how he dives into this and explains how we're actually doing these things on a day-to-day basis. Of course, part of regression testing, you're trying to find bugs, and so we'll talk about the bug life cycle. and explain what that looks like as well. And then at the end of it, we'll kind of save some time to share just our overall experiences over the past 4.5 years of doing test automation, test services, and things like that. Uh, share a bit of key points that we're hoping customers can start to prioritize and put into their processes as they go through Microsoft's one version updates. So at the very end, of course, as I mentioned, we'll have the Q&A session. So hopefully 10 to 15 minutes on that. All right. What is regression in general? And not just regression, but regression testing. What is it needed for? So we know that Microsoft is having updates. You can take up to 7 per year, which is a code change and a release, and you can take up to 7 of these updates. Make sure you're staying on top of functional and technological advancements and so forth. Really helps the business and the business users make sure that customers are being adequately taken care of. Yeah. Um, so they're doing these updates to stay at the forefront of things, but those will very often make changes, of course, code changes, and everybody knows you have to test those code changes. What changed? This changed. Oh, let's test it and make sure it works. But the other aspect of that is there might be something that changed there that affects something else elsewhere. So that process over there did not change, but maybe this table or this field or this process changed a little bit that will affect things elsewhere. And so you need to make sure to test other things outside of where the changes actually occurred. And so that's really the idea behind regression testing is there were changes made here, did they affect things over here? And that's critical in an integrated system like you have in an ERP system. And so in general, that's the idea of regression is changes were made here, test over here to see if it affected anything. Very often it does. And so you want to make sure you have a test plan in place to make sure that you're identifying those quite quickly. I've mentioned one version several times. I'm sure that everybody here is probably in the Dynamics world, and so you know exactly what one version means, continuous updates, et cetera, et cetera. You have to take at least 2 updates a year. Maybe it's 3, depending upon your cycle. You can take as many as 7. In general, we're seeing like most of our customers are doing them quarterly, something like that. So a lot of testing is needed for all these code changes. And that really just makes regression testing imperative and having a package of regression tests set up so that way you don't have to spend business user time, business analyst time, consultant time, developer time testing outside of where the changes were. You have the changes, and then over here, you kind of can just hit play on your process and it'll test these things over here uh, that make sure no regressions have happened. One key to that, though, is something that I know Marek will talk about quite a bit, is there's doing things by the book, which by the book would be, hey, you test every single process. But in reality, capacity and limitations, resource limitations, you're typically testing core processes. And what I mean by core processes is that businesses are designed to sell things. They sell things. That's what they do. Goods, services, whatever it is. And so the processes that surround the idea of selling whatever good or process you sell, whether it's actually the sales process, the invoice process, or picking to packing, warehouse, all of those processes, uh, those are key and core to the business making money. And so those are the ones that you should start testing. And that's, really the idea behind what you should be starting off with as a regression test package. Um, you see, the next point, test the processes that weren't changed. Of course, that's the whole idea behind regression. You have regression test packs or test suites. If you're using DevOps, you probably understand that lingo is a test suite, however you say it. This really lines up quite well with test automation and then also test automation tools or test management tools rather like DevOps. And so Marek will also point out a couple of things regarding test automation, and then we'll talk a bit about test management such as DevOps, Jira, things like that that are quite helpful during this whole thing. Um, Regarding all this, obviously you can see that we are an implementation partner. We have a lot of experience with updates, with Microsoft One version upgrades, etc. We've been doing this since 2006, and so we'd like to share some of our experience and offer some free test consultations. This will be for the first 8 companies. We've had, I think, what were the numbers, like 300 or something like that, Marek? I think 300 people will be watching this. So the first 8 companies that come to us that will participate in this webinar, we'll give a free consultation for you, talk about how you can set up a regression test package and get it working for your next update in Microsoft Dynamics. It says 45 minutes. You can see I like to talk a lot, so we'll probably end up around an hour, but below here and also in the comments section, we'll put the URL that you can sign up for. So I highly encourage that. These are good talks to get started and moving in the right direction. So, with that said, I do want to kind of limit myself from speaking and bring in the actual expert, Marek. Marek, we've got here like which processes are suitable for regression testing. I mentioned earlier there's the by the book method, which is, test all of them, test everything. But from our experience, of course, capacity and limitations, resource limitations kind of prevent that. So tell me a little bit, which processes are suitable for regression testing? What are we actually looking at?
All right, I take that everyone can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacob, for short introduction. Actually happy to take a part in the webinar. So right in the spot, Jacob. By the book. This works actually from some kind of businesses. So we need to define like which kind of processes are suitable for regression in our business. There are businesses like automotive or maybe some, for example, business where they produce aircrafts and stuff, where actually all the tests need to be done. The 100% of them they will include in regression, right? But is it really profitable in from the perspective of the business, like we do, actually, like we help to implement? Not really, because actually it can take a lot of time for maintenance of the tests. Of course, it's which costs money.
So you mean for an automotive company, it'd be like regarding like the sensors in the car and
definitely. Then actually
making sure you have that inventory, you want to make sure that is 100% covered. Those type of things. Are the brakes put in the car? Yes.
Exactly.
But then on the other side of things, there could be maybe things that are less important that you need to identify and prioritize. Yeah.
Well, yes, actually, and for example, in Dynamics, like we focus, for example, for selling, buying things, and movement of the stock, in the warehousing, right. So the key processes actually will be and the posting invoices, any workflows and things like this, pretty much, or also, like I said,
picking, the packing, etc.
So that would be key the processes, and that process should be included in the regression. So let's say from the 1,000 of the processes, we can choose 20%, which going to cover all these key functionalities, which will be need for regression also, because we don't it's actually quite from our experience here, because we don't really want to spend too much time to maintenance and just to not waste time for it, right?
And so basically, if you have like 1,000 processes in your business, maybe 200 of them that are kind of representational and cover a wide swath of that's what you're looking to do in regression tests in general, like from realistic point of view.
Because all these key processes actually, well, the thing is that the processes for regression shouldn't be too complex. And again, I'm going to say, just to not maintenance them too much also, we need to make sure pretty much that all this data and everything is correct, So basically, that's the thing, we can actually relate that to the Pareto rule, about the 20% versus 80%, But in this case, for example, so the simple test cases with that key functionalities will cover enough, yeah, because
Yeah.
more complex also they have this pretty much the same key functionalities.
Yep. Yep. I like how you mentioned the 80-20 rule there. It's funny how that just keeps coming back. Yeah. It's always everything,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah.
We're talking about regression. There's the automation aspect of it because you mentioned, taking the simple processes and such. And oftentimes the simple processes are very repeatable, and you can, just take them and do them over and over again. Maybe there's some, you have to change some number or something. You can have like a number sequence or something that makes sure you have unique data. So talk a little bit about regression and how important automation is to that. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, yeah, the first point would be like the most regression tests should be automated, because it's also, again, I'm going to say that again, it saves the time, but only for non-complex key processes. Yeah. And they actually, like you said, just right in spot, reusability. Yeah, they should be able to use anytime, even at night, if we set up the scheduler in the tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
And so use it,
And
one update, and then the next update you can use it again, yeah? And then not only use it again the next update, but also use it in like within entities. Most companies have multiple
yes.
entities across different countries, et cetera. We'll talk a bit more about golden process at the end, I think, but kind of that reusability aspect is your regression test should cover a wide thing and then also be easy to use again in the future. Yeah.
Yes, also, yeah. So before actually any update, any release, I would call it. Yeah. So we
Hmm.
should, when we actually preparing the test suite for regression, yeah, we should actually test it before and actually straight after the release. Yeah, just to compare such a things.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, but in terms of actually very complex test cases, actually I would suggest to use manually testing for that if it's necessary to do a lot of maintenance and change the things frequently in the test cases, right?
Hmm.
Of
Yep.
course, all this maintenance also is dependable how frequent actually releases are. Yeah.
Yep.
And how, because let's say if we're going to have two major releases during the year, of course that changes can be quite big. Yeah.
Yep.
But if we're going to have the frequent, yeah, they will be smaller, but they will be more often. So the maintenance can be a bit different for both of these things, right?
Yeah. Which is okay because you're trying to minimize the number of processes you're maintaining anyways. You're not looking at testing 1,000 processes. You're looking closer at 200 or something like this. Yeah. Uh, that you're running through regression
Yeah,
tests.
yeah.
And
So yeah, so about the tools for automation, yeah. So there is actually quite many on the market to use, but we actually gonna talk about executive automats because it's actually our tool, and we using that to deal with our projects, yeah, and just sustain, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's test
Okay.
automation tools, and there's many of them out there that you guys can find. But the one that we happen to use is actually Executive Automats. We developed it initially as our own tool to use on our own implementation projects and maintenance, support plans and service plans and such. And so that's what we continue to use. And this is actually a good slide here. It kind of sets up and shows kind of what a regression pack looks like, as we call them, a run pack. Yeah,
Well,
a little bit.
this is actually simple screenshot actually of the
Hmm.
layout of the main page of our tool. Yeah, here actually on the left side, I would like to show you pretty much how the order looks like when we do the projects. Yeah, so pretty much, let's say on the left side we have like just random ABC project here, and here we got like sub project which is called ARAP GL. Yeah, this is a reference to the modules in the
Hmm.
Dynamics,
Yep.
which is like accounts receivable, accounts payable, general ledger, general procurement. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. So basically, we keep in such an order. Yeah. And in every this sub project, we have test cases which are related to these modules as well. Yeah. So in terms of, we have such an option scheduler, if you can see on the top in the toolbar. Yeah. So with this functionality of our tool, we can actually we're doing regression, yeah, because there is an option that we link the scripts there, and we call it that regression pack pretty much, yeah, and we include in the pack that these key processes, that the scripts which actually cover the key processes, and we can run it anytime we want, whatever, even at night. And also there is a very good feature which it can be integrated with DevOps. So
Yeah.
even you don't need to have really access to the EA to see the results of the any execution of the tests if they're integrated.
Yeah. I think, us personally, I know that we heavily rely on DevOps because of that linkage there. But the reason for that is that all of the customers we're working with actually are using DevOps. I'm pretty sure all of them are using DevOps to manage their testing. And so maybe talk just a little bit about kind of not just the tool for automation, but then the test tool for management, which again, almost every time is DevOps. And so how does that, how can that be used? How are you using that on a daily basis to give like
Well,
results and things like this? Yeah.
yeah, well, if you could actually maybe proceed to the next slide, actually, I will tell.
Perfect.
Yeah, so this is actually pretty much related to the creating a test suite for regression, which
Yep.
actually happens in DevOps. This is, I will tell just for example, if we don't have one yet, right?
So
So
like you're starting from scratch, no regression pack yet. Yeah.
yeah, we
Gotcha.
just like, let's say it's like quite a fresh project. So so we're gonna create our first regression pack. So basically, like I said, let's focus on our key processes for our business. Yeah, if our business, for example, like I said previously, focus on sales, buying and moving stuff. Yeah, so that will be for example, processes like from accounts payable, receivable, maybe warehousing. That includes posting, invoicing, right, and pretty much similar things. Yeah. So we're gonna focus basically to create such a test cases for regression to test such a functionalities. Also, before any release or update, yeah, we should give some kind of release notes. Yeah, well, it's not necessary, but it's nice to look into that and have some idea maybe which areas of the software can be touched.
Yeah.
By that, like for example, if you see even on your mobile phone or your PC or laptop, you can see that you have some kind of release note on every update of your software.
Yep.
So
And I know
so this is
Microsoft
good
does
thing.
that. Yeah.
So this is not maybe necessary, but it's a good thing to have. So in another step, like, so we're gonna add, like, continuously adding these test cases to our regression, but just to remember that, just to not make too complex, right? This is just to not spend too much time on it. And in
You
terms of future maintenance as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually we'll talk a lot more about maintenance, I think. But in terms, we're taking this from the approach of we're just starting. We're starting from scratch. We don't have a regression pack yet. I think it is important to point out that take what wins you can get at the beginning. Yeah, like, oftentimes we'll see companies that don't have a full understanding of what their actual processes are, or maybe they do, but they're not able to get the people involved to share that knowledge that can convey it and put it into a testing project. And so the idea behind starting from scratch and creating a regression test pack is focus on what's core and get done what you can get done, and that regression pack will grow over time. Yeah, is you'll start off, in the first update you go through, you might have a regression pack that's only got 35 test cases in it, but then the next one you've got 60, the next one you've got 90, and it continues to grow until hopefully you get to where you're covering, you know 80 to 90%, right?
Same. I want to refer actually to our core business processes, to
Yeah,
that, and just to be selective with that.
exactly. Yeah. And then there's the release, test suite, verify results. I know that you're quite involved with that as well. Yeah.
So basically, right. And after adding, let's say, it's quite simple process. Just like we need to release all these test cases. I mean, in execute. Even even before any update, yeah, even any
Mhm.
release, yeah, just to make sure that it's stable, it contains proper test data, well, and if it's and just to double check if it's actually if it's according to our needs, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can maybe we can proceed to the another slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so basically, yeah, this is continuation of our previous talk. Yes, so after release and after release, we can actually focus on analyze our execution. Actually, I'm going to refer to our tool again. Yes, after any execution of the test, even single one, but like I said in scheduler, yeah, for regression, for example, yeah, we're gonna have quite a rich report, including which includes the times of the every execution, what went wrong, actually, with some nice info. If we're gonna switch on such a functionality, then we have actually even screenshot taken on every step. So,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is very useful in terms of analyzing the test execution report. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the idea that kind of leads into that bug life cycle is that we're going to talk about that next actually is hey, we found a problem, now what? And these, the analysis allows us to efficiently move into this next step, yeah. And so I think the next point is bug life cycle, yeah.
Well, this is, yeah, but we're gonna come back to the later pretty much. Yeah, but we need
Yeah.
to focus because the regression results doesn't need to actually tell us only about the bugs. Yeah.
Yep.
It can be also change in the process as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to have a look pretty much and see maybe the process gets simplified after release,
Yep.
or it will be need some additional steps.
Yep. Or data changed.
Yeah, or data change. But yeah,
Yep.
yeah, true. Yeah. So firstly, pretty much we need to make sure that bug is a bug as well. Yeah, if we
Yep.
see some kind of defect, potential defect at least. Yeah. Yeah, so sometimes so yeah, after it we can actually focus of improving these scripts, yeah, if the new process after release will be needed, that, yeah, so we adding the missing one or just creating new ones just to fill that, I would say, missing parts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, rerun the test suite, but yeah, so basically this is happening straight after we fix our scripts and we've defined some bugs, but this is in terms also rerun means like retest of some particular test cases when we verify actually the bug existed and it was fixed.
Yep. And that's actually, automation becomes even more critical in that situation because you don't want to test it, find the bug, fix it, and then take business users back off of their work again to make sure that it actually works. And so
Well,
it's nice to have a regression
this is
pack in place. Yeah.
a bit longer way until like
Yeah.
we're gonna share results with the business people. We just need to make sure that the
Yeah.
thing is fixed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about the bug life cycle. So I will tell now about some journey of the bug through these any actually any bug tracking tool, for example DevOps or Jira or something quite similar, right? So if you actually could proceed, yeah, okay, so we have like simple chart which is actually the knowledge which you can actually find on the website. Yeah, the chart is pretty much the same everywhere. For example, in DevOps, the workflows of this chart, it can be changed. You can name it how you want. Yeah, pretty much. But let's say, okay, let's start from the beginning. Like we found a bug. Yeah. So firstly, we need to make sure that the bug is a bug. Yeah. So if we are not sure, we can ask, yeah, escalate it and ask maybe someone more experienced or our like management or maybe some developers here quickly. If it's really bug, maybe it can be some wrong settings of the
Configuration or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but okay, let's say that it was actual bug. So we go into another stage, which is open. Yeah. So then actually, so before that, actually, we gonna report that we need to give how much as we can description of the bug. It can contain some step to reproduce that. It will be need to add some description for that. Maybe some attachments like pictures of videos would be helpful for
Yep.
developers to just to see that in database. Yeah, so let's say it's open, and well, we need to pretty much define, but developers can define that later as well. Is it like critical bug? But if it's gonna be critical, I think we can notice that straight away. Yeah, if we cannot use the system properly, right?
Yeah.
Or if
If
it's
it's
kind of blocker even. Yeah.
yeah, and if it's something
Yeah.
cosmetic or something, it kind
Yeah.
of goes
Right.
to the deferred
So
side. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So bugs are quite divided with the severity and priority. Yeah. So let's say we have the actually the one arrow to the left, which is state deferred. Yeah, that's mean actually that the bugs is not really relevant. Can be fixed later on. It may be some small cosmetic issue which doesn't have any impact on
Yeah.
system. It can be actually funny things. So if the actual developer would have some spare time, they could fix it, right?
Yeah. Some
Or
misspelling on a button or something like this. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah. The button works, but
actually,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but let's say, but if it's like really like critical, yeah, they will try to fix it as soon as possible, yeah, because we need to use the software, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so okay, so let's say developer fixed that after some time, and they asking, and they of course making some retests, but they need to ask us for retests as well, yeah, as a testers, yeah. So we're gonna test it from actually all the ways to make sure it's stable, or and when it's actually still bug exists, or maybe still functionality behaves strange, not how it's supposed to be, then we're gonna actually reopen the bug and again address it to the development team, yeah, just to figure it out.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
yourself personally, you've been doing this for quite a while now. And so in your position, you can kind of tell, oh, that is a bug. Yeah. But somebody who's kind of new to the QA world or something like this, in that situation, they may need to rely on kind of the knowledge share aspect where they talk to a consultant or a business analyst or something, right?
Actually, it's very important.
Yeah.
Actually, it's still as me, I'm not maybe so new to the business here, but even I don't need to make sure that it's wrong. Yeah, so
Hmm.
it would be nice to have some extra pair of eyes. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to see that and say like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a bug. Yeah,
And so having a communication channel, not
yeah,
just between
yeah.
developers and testers, but also
Yeah.
between
Well, that
business
could be
analysts
like,
and
yeah,
testers.
we can
Yeah.
agree with some more tester with bigger experience, like I said previously. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
So, like I said, yeah, it's nice to ask someone always. It's like, it's just to better like than to make a mess in the DevOps or Jira, right?
Yeah, there could be a customization or something that you didn't know about. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
basically, so let's say actually, yeah, after reopening or even without, yeah, it works. So then actually we can close the case with the bug and when it's actually all working, yeah,
Yeah.
and when the issue is fixed, yeah.
I'll jump in here as well as I think we've done a good job of helping you kind of share some of your actual daily experiences and stuff. But I wanted to ask you directly what does the daily work look like for somebody who's doing regression testing in Dynamics 365 FSCM every single day? What does that look
well
like?
well, that depends actually from the customer, yeah, what
Mhm.
customer wants from us, yeah, or expand the number of the test cases and do more complex test cases. But in regression, yes, like let's keep in mind just the maintenance that, yeah, just make sure, yeah, if in case of any database change in the system, yeah, we need to keep that updated, yeah, just from time to time to run it to check the stability of it, yeah, because also that it can be update not only on the dynamics, right, it can be
Yep.
also update of our tool, yeah, so we need to actually make sure that XPath is correct, yeah,
Yep.
and even if that process it wasn't changed, we
Hmm.
need to make sure that
Yep.
that all these tests are stable.
Yeah, it could even be something like you have an integration that feeds in data into Dynamics, and you're using that into a test case, and maybe the format of that data changed or something. So yeah, you have to keep
Well,
an eye on
this
those
is
type of
right,
things.
but this is actually related to the entities, right? Different
Yep.
entities, yeah.
Yep.
For example, when we creating scripts for entities for different countries, there are different regulations, yeah. Some of the test cases even can be not suitable for them, right? Or needs to
Yeah.
be customized.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And also, every different entity has different database like mine accounts, vendors, and many other things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we talked a little bit about communication channels. There's, I don't think we have to go too much into that, but the idea for your job is obviously test creation and test execution. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yes. Actually, let's say there is a routine like daily meetings with the status. Yeah. What has been done so far? Yeah. What we progressing, or if you have some issues. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, the quite important is also just for customer. The customer needs to pretty much shares some data with tester to create such a scripts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
happen it's missing. Yeah. So then actually we need to establish such a communication channels to be just in touch, yeah, in case of such a thing, yeah.
Yeah. And then you're creating and maintaining test cases
Yeah,
and setting up schedulers or basically run packs for regression
yeah,
suites. Yeah.
yeah,
And then
true, yeah.
there's the last part of it, which is gathering the results and then acting on them, which would be putting things into the bug life cycle that are necessary, or then even approving, hey, this is good to go. Let's go ahead and
Yeah,
forget
but
about
like
it.
I
Yeah.
said, any of analyze of this any summary of test execution and creation of a report, yeah, can include not only about the bugs, yeah, but about
Mm-hmm.
any changing in processes, right?
Yep.
Process, I like I said, process can work now faster or slower,
Yeah.
or can
I
be
know.
some any different mandatory fields to checked, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say actually, you and I specifically had a situation where, went through and we're doing the testing and such, and just kept finding that it wasn't a bug. It's just people were going to the wrong place and trying to do the wrong thing, and the information we got to do the process was incorrect. And so we were able to actually kind of make a little bit of an improvement just on how the process should look. And so that's another aspect of this gather results and act type of thing. So. Yeah, thanks for kind of sharing that. Again, I always enjoy talking with you because you're, down in the trenches doing this work every day. It's good to get a little bit of your insight. Of course, we can talk with Marek again. Free test consultation for the first 8 companies. Of course, 45 minutes I said, but probably expect about an hour. And you can look in the comments and find the address here to sign up for that. We'll also hit you up on email and send that over to you also. Before we jump into the Q&A, I know we have a few questions already, but Marek, is there anything else that you would add about regression testing just kind of before we jump out here? What's something that we forgot about? Is there anything you can think of?
I would just add one more time, maybe just to keep it simple, pretty much, yeah,
Yep. Yep.
and be
Yeah.
selective, yeah, with the test cases, yeah, just to cover the key processes.
Yeah, prioritize them. From my side, I would say is communication channels for knowledge share, and making sure you know what the process looks like. I see that that's often a bottleneck in projects. Is hey, we have a question. How does this process actually look when users are doing it? And it takes 3 or 4 days to get some information on that. So that's kind of a bottleneck that I see often. Yeah.
Well, that's actually it's good to have some even emergency point of contact.
Yeah, exactly. So. All right. Yeah, I know we have a few questions already, so we can take a look at those and kind of try to address them a little bit. All right. Yeah. This one. How long does it take for you to fix a bug?
For me, I mean, it's like more for development team, right? So, like I said, like I mentioned previously, right? Actually, I had such a question to the development team in the past. Yeah, how much is approx. So there is no actually one answer for that, because actually every bug is treated individually. Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends actually from the complexity of an bug, of the defect, yeah, to fix it, and also, like I said, from the priority and severity. If it's critical, yeah, they have to do it, yeah, fast as
Yeah.
possible. Maybe in a
Do
few
they work
hours, and
weekends?
just, yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
questionable, yeah. Sometimes maybe someone, right, but yeah, but this is it, yeah. But like I said, if it has like a minor status, yeah, then whatever, yeah, it can
Yeah.
take even a weeks through,
Yeah.
or okay, we're gonna fix it, and we're gonna it will be fixed in the next release, yeah, let's
Yeah.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
But if they need to implement hotfix, yeah, it needs to be like in the hours.
Yep. Yeah. And then retesting it needs to be quick as well, which again was where automation comes
Yeah,
in.
yeah, true,
Is being able
yes.
to do that in an automated fashion is critical. So cool. Thanks for that. I know we got another question at least here. Oh yeah, I love this one. This is actually really good. I know you can answer this. One example of a process, an exact specific process that's really suitable for regression testing.
Yes, so like I said, I mean, like I mentioned previously, you mentioned actually as well, yeah. So we need to actually mind our business, I would say. Again,
Yeah.
just what key processes we
Yeah.
actually trigger, yeah. So, for example, yeah, like I said, in terms of buying and selling, will be, for example, free text invoice, yeah, and to check
Hmm.
which fields uh, are mandatory to actually to process posting of free text invoice, yeah, and later on to process it, right? Or in terms of creation of purchase order, and then hand over to the different user to check how working workflow, yeah, is it like working correctly or not, to check the relations between the users, and also later on invoicing that, and again hand over again, yeah.
Yep.
So I would say this is actually processes which actually are most often in the regression, from
Hmm.
my experience, right?
Yeah. And from my experience on my side is uh, the automation side specifically is repetitive processes. Yeah. Again, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, not too complex. They can be complex. It can be, processes linked together. That those can be automated. They change users, etc. But the idea is something needs to be repetitive. Yeah. Um,
Yes,
from the
actually, this
automation
one which I
perspective.
mentioned, yeah, they are actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I know we've got a few more questions coming in here. Let's take a look. Yeah. So the deferred state, you touched on this briefly here in the bug cycle. Just, I
Yeah,
think,
so yeah, right. So this is actually the state which is like the bug which are probably doesn't have, which they doesn't have any impact on the system. Yeah, they are not
hmm
really important, and they not need to be fixed right now. Yeah, for
hmm
example, can share some history about it. Yeah, so when I was working totally on different project, it was actually manual testing. It was totally different stuff here. So there was actually the button which was responsible for posting, or it was the workflow, and it was actually mistaken the name of it. It was, I had some extra letters which was looking hilarious, and the button itself was okay, yeah, it was doing the job, yeah, it was
Yeah. As a
working, yeah,
tester,
but
though, you're
I
looking
was
at it like,
but
"Hi, bug."
yeah, for a couple of weeks I was just watching in the mistake in the in the word, yeah, on the
As a
button.
tester, that's like nails on a chalkboard, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but because of the development team, actually, they were quite busy with more serious stuff.
Hey,
They
yeah.
didn't bother about this.
Yeah. Beggars can't be choosers. Yeah. Uh, Perfect. Hey, here's a couple questions that I'm happy to have you here for. Yogesh Patel from Montreal, they say. Very nice. Uh, Really good. How do you identify core processes? Is it identifying and applying risk management principles? And then the secondary question to that is, kind of what are some shortcomings of regression testing, which I think I'll tackle that second question. But this first one, how to identify core processes. What are you seeing? I can add a little bit to this as well, I think.
Well, like we mentioned previously, actually, a couple of times, I guess, yeah, core processes actually. So what your business doing, yeah, pretty much. What's
Hmm.
the most frequent scenario for people in the business which are doing, yeah. So this
Yeah,
will be core processes,
the
but
ones that make money for you. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Just
yeah.
yeah, just to decrease the possibility to fail, yeah.
And so,
So
of course, that includes the risk management principles, as you're kind of taking an ROI assessment on them. It really it needs an understanding of what your processes are, as well as what your business are, and that's something that we often consult with folks about when we're doing these, test consultations and such. Is hey, what does your business do? This is kind of the area you need to look in as far as focusing your attention on making sure that that works all the time. Yeah. And so it's hard to say exactly how you identify the core processes, but I would say it's pretty much standard risk management principles. You're seeing what your business does, and you're taking into account how often that's being used by your business users, and how much of an impact that has on your bottom line, your net revenue. So um, I think that's a reasonable answer for that. Shortcomings of regression testing, I would say, is that you're not covering everything. By the book, you should cover every
yeah,
process. Yeah,
again, depends from the business, right?
yeah. At first, you're not going to cover everything. You'll build up your regression pack to where hopefully you're getting
Yes,
to
for
like
sure. Yes. No, so
90%.
best
Yeah.
actually at the beginning, yeah, just to focus on the key processes.
Yeah,
That
and
is
so
good.
that's definitely a shortcoming though. Is for regression testing by the book, it would be best if you could test everything, but it's not realistic. This is a really similar question is about, and this is from Aditi Gogodov. How do you define priority and severity? Is high priority always high severity? Um, it's an interesting question. Yeah.
Well, not really,
Hmm.
actually. Well, the priority, I would say, if it's like really critical bug, then you need to actually act quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
S-
You know,
Like
I think I
previously.
can actually make a nice example here is so if you're McDonald's and your invoice that you're sending to somebody has Wendy's at the top of it instead of McDonald's, that's probably high priority, although low severity. Yeah, to fix that, it's probably pretty simple. Severity, not so much. It'll have a huge impact on your business, of course, but the fix of it is not a severe fix, but the priority would be paramount. Yeah, so uh, I think that's kind of the idea behind this question. Yeah. Sorry, I do too many analogies. I know that. All right. You know, more questions. We have a little bit more time. Feel free to ask them. Good questions so far. And we've got Marek here, and he has a lot of experience that he can share. So feel free to go ahead and drop those in the comments. We'll stand here and stare at the camera until we get something more. Marek, in the meantime, is there anything else relating to maybe these questions
I
before while people are putting
think
more in?
I think we covered pretty much all the
Yeah,
topic for now.
yeah. Yeah, so we'll give it a couple more minutes, see if any more questions come in. Yeah, we'll definitely follow up with everybody as well and send out this recording. And of course, those free test consultations. I think this is a valuable thing that you can get. And of course, our idea is to provide test services in the future, but at this moment, it's really just about convincing people to actually start focusing on regression testing because it's critical. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't see too many more questions coming in. You must have explained things really well, Marek. Good job, buddy.
Thanks, but maybe there is something we can cover as well. Yeah, I'm waiting for some questions.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Another thing about kind of defining core processes, it's something I think is worth pointing out, is that there are tools out there that can actually, they're kind of like data mining, uh, process mining type of tools that will help you actually see what your business users are doing and point out the exact process even, and you can use those processes that are pointed out in your testing for regression and so forth. You can also use it for business optimization and things like that. And so that's one other way that I've seen being used, that you could define core processes, is using some sort of data mining tool for Dynamics that is showing you what your users are doing. Yeah. Oh, I see a thank you in here as well. Uh, Marek, it means you did great, buddy.
I'm glad to hear that, actually.
Yeah. All right. I think, yeah, we'll go ahead and close things down. We'll get this recording in ship shape and send it over to everybody. Check your Gmail accounts if you signed up there. Whatever email account you registered with, go ahead and check that and get the recording. And we are looking forward to people reaching out to us and asking about how to do a little bit more testing for these updates. Yeah.
All right.
All right.